Good morning, everybody. It's Paula from the 411 on manifesting. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. I was at a market in my hometown for 2 days and it was so awesome. It was my first time at this market. I met tons of really cool people and I saw a lot of friends that I haven't seen in a while and connected with some other vendors I hadn't seen in a while. So it was honestly amazing. I'm still kind of on a really high vibration just from the energy of the weekend. It was so good. Oh, okay. Well, let's get started. Today, we are going to talk about money trauma. What is money trauma, you might ask? Well, money trauma is events or circumstances in our lives that create money blocks that prevent us from bringing in more abundance into our lives. So I always knew what a money block was. I mean, a money block is just that. It's a block that, is created so that money doesn't come into your life. And money blocks come from many things, which also stem from money trauma. Money trauma to me was really interesting when I kind of dove into it a bit. So I'm reading Lewis Howes' book, his newest book, Make Money Easy. I will link it below in the comments, but it does explain a lot about why people can't bring abundance into their lives. No matter how hard they try, no matter what they're doing, they're still somewhere in the back of their mind believing that money isn't going to come to them, that opportunities aren't going to come, things aren't fair, yada, yada, yada. So money trauma can come in many forms. It typically stems from something to do with your childhood. So you could have stolen something when you were a kid or a teenager. You could have things stolen from you when you were a kid, a teenager, or even as an adult. Your parents could have had money taken away from them. For instance, if they invested in something that you remember, and maybe they lost a lot of money and made that story really, really big when you were a kid, that is something that typically sticks with people. Your parents getting, stolen from, or having, this is another thing I read about, which I found really interesting, was there was a person that won a huge amount of money. Well, their parents did actually won a huge amount of money, and they had been just kind of a middle class family growing up. Didn't have a lot of extra money, but it didn't, they weren't starving and they weren't homeless. But their parents won a lottery. So when that happened, of course, that changes everything. They got a new home, new vehicles, they took trips, things like that. They also had a lot of people come out of the woodwork, as sometimes happens with a lottery win, is that you have people kind of come out that, really want you to invest in their business or help them out, or, kind of do these things. What had happened in this person's story, though, is that their parents made some poor choices with the lottery win, and they lost everything within about a year and a half. And in fact, they were worse off than they were before they won the money. So, and that isn't actually an uncommon thing for lottery winners, apparently, from what I was reading, is that they get so excited and caught up in the win that they don't really plan for the future. They're kind of paying all their bills off first, of course, helping family and friends, getting a new home, vehicles, trips, things like that. And then when the money's gone, say if they've invested in something, or they've had people, promise to pay them back, or an investment return on something, and that doesn't happen, and they're actually out that money. And that is a real thing. That is something that, as a kid, if you're living through that, if your parents went through that you will take with you into your adult life. And that is a trauma. That's a traumatic thing that happens. Getting stolen from, that is a traumatic thing that happens. So that will lead you to not trust anybody, to be very protective and guarded with your money, so that you won't want to, take any type of, small risks, even like investing in yourself or in a trusted friend that has a great idea. It really prevents anything from going forward, with a block in that case. Stealing yourself, if you're a kid or a teenager or even an adult that was caught, stealing, that creates a money block. That literally, that energy will put into you a fear of money. So I found that really, really interesting. To prevent yourself, especially when you're a kid, when you experience a trauma like that, some kind of money trauma, it's really hard for you to move forward into your adult life having a good idea about money. And honestly, it gives you a fear of it. Because what is fear? Fear is really being scared of something that hasn't even happened yet. So when you have an emotional trauma, especially around money, put onto you as a kid, you're going to take that into your adult life because that's really the only lesson that you've learned about it. And it becomes very, very, I don't want to say vibrant, but it becomes very alive in your life and in your story. And that's really, really huge, because if you don't believe that money is going to come to you in a good way through success, through, things that you've done, if you've had some goals that you want to achieve and you've done the work and you've done the steps, but back there, you really don't believe that those things are going to happen for you, then they're not. It doesn't matter how much work you're doing or money that you're initially putting into, an investment or a business or anything like that. If you don't believe somewhere in the back of your head that it's not going to be a success, then it's not going to be a success, because that's how law of attraction works, right? So we attract what we think about and we get what we think about. So if we're thinking that money is bad, that money is evil, that people are going to steal from me, untrustworthy, things like that. If you're bringing that kind of energy into your business or your finances, then that's typically where it's going to stay. And it's really, really hard to have anything come about from that in a good way. And I do want to share something from you. I have a family member that was stolen from a parent. So that really shaped my family member's view on money for the rest of their lives. They have struggled. They're very hard workers, but they've struggled a lot, never expecting to ever have anything good happen in their lives. And I know that it stems from what happened to them when they were little. And it's very heartbreaking because as kids, we really don't ask for, it makes me really emotional, to be honest. But, as kids, we don't ask for any of that. We have to trust that our caregivers, whether they be parents or aunts or uncles or grandparents, we have to trust that they always have our best interests at heart and that they encourage, any type of saving that we do or anything positive that we're doing around money. We always have to really encourage that. And when that is taken away from you as a child, it's really, really hard to come back from that. So it's very important that we teach our kids good stories about money. My mom taught me good stories about money all the time. I mean, we didn't have much growing up, but my mom was always a very hard worker, and we didn't want for anything. She always made it happen. So I loved that she taught me manifesting about that and about, writing it down and seeing it. So, I mean, I was fortunate that I grew up with a mom like that. And I know that I am like that with my kids too. So, but some of us weren't so lucky that way. So just kind of something to think about, and, honestly, for you listening and watching this right now, that could have been something that happened to you as a kid. There are ways to get around it. We do have to do some work. We need to do some visualizing and some journaling and some self-love, that we are completely worth anything that has come from our childhood. So money trauma does not have to be your story, but it should be something that's recognized. And maybe dig a little deeper if you're having, some issues bringing abundance or hope or, any type of success into your life. If you find that is a real struggle, it might be worth it to look into your money story a bit and see if there's any money trauma that kind of stems from that. So anyway, that is my vlog today. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear in the comments about, your money stories, or if you've had any money trauma, if you don't want to share that, that's fine, but maybe just how you got through it. I think it would be really good to know how people get through money trauma and money blocks. I think we're all here to learn together, and we're all here to share. So anyway, that's my vlog for today again. Have a wonderful Monday, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your week. And if nobody tells you this week, I love you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye.